The largest forestry and wood processing event in the country is being held this week in Rotorua. With the Rugby World Cup kicking off this Friday, the Forest Industries Expo 2011 is designed to showcase the industry to international visitors while featuring the latest in industry innovations for those working in the sector. One of the Expo's key sponsors is the BNZ, and the BNZ's head of primary and diversified, Curtis Mercer, says the bank has had a long history of involvement in the forestry sector.
So we have about a 40% market share at the institutional level. When I say institutional level, again, I mean lending to the large forest owners and the large processors.
With a heavy stake in the forestry sector, Curtis Mercer says it's been great to see exponential export demand for New Zealand logs from developing nations.
There's huge demand out of Asia for logs. There's been a reduction in Chinese taking of logs from Russia, which has probably been the major driver, along with obviously the huge growth that's going on in China, and now to some extent India is starting to take a lot more of our logs. Traditionally they're markets that never paid enough for our logs, but with huge demand and less supply out of Russia, I guess the dynamics have changed.
But the performance of New Zealand's forestry sector is definitely a game of two halves, and while exports to the world's largest developing economies have been going fantastically, the domestic processing sector is struggling badly. Curtis Mercer says it's hoped the Christchurch rebuild will give the domestic sector a much-needed shot in the arm.
We remain right behind our processing industry in New Zealand, and there is a bright light ahead, obviously, with Christchurch, if you can call it a bright light, given what's going on down there. But that will obviously be a real stimulus to the New Zealand processing sector, the amount of building activity that will go on down there. And I think wood's obviously going to be a product in very high demand, given, I guess, the failure of other building materials down there versus the wooden houses and the way they've stood up.